Welcome to Pagan Coffee Talk. Here are your hosts, Oswin and Lord Knight. Today's topic, revenge and innocent until proven guilty.
Okay. What about this?
So, let's start with revenge.
Okay.
Or should we start with innocent until proven guilty? Well, I guess they kind of both go hand in hand. If you're looking at a situation where somebody's wanting to use magic to do justice, do their own sort of justice on somebody.
Well, I remember a spell back in the day. It came from gypsy lore on how to do, and it was to seek revenge upon a thief.
Yes. Yes, right. I remember that.
And supposedly how the spell went was, you did some stuff, and within 7 days, if the merchandise wasn't returned, the person who stole it dropped dead.
Right.
Now, with the caveat of this, it tells at the end of a guy who lost his money, thought it was stolen, cast the spell, and he dropped dead. Because sometimes spells are literally doing exactly what you tell them to do.
Right.
So when you're doing things for revenge, that gets a little dicey because you're never 100% sure. Are you?
Well, I would guess not. I mean, I guess that's where it goes to innocent until proven guilty. Don't do anything until you know for absolute certainty,
right,
that person or persons are guilty.
Right. I mean, I like to subscribe to the belief that I'd rather 10 guilty people go free than one innocent person be jailed.
Right.
I mean, that's just my thoughts on that. I think's a more better society, especially, you're innocent until proven guilty.
Right. And some people are going to say, well, you're setting 10 guilty people free. Well, if they're guilty, guess what? They're going to wind up right back in the system.
Yeah, but would you rather lock up one innocent person or 10 innocent people just to have that one guilty person in there?
Well, no. I mean, you wouldn't want it that way.
No, but again, here's where we have a problem when people in craft think about stuff. They never want to flip the script. What about if it was the other way around?
Right.
That's just like, the whole guilt thing. We got to get people to start thinking that you have to flip the script. You got to think of what the other side was like. I have relatives who live up in the mountains who live by a certain code of conduct.
Certainly, yes.
All right. And which, if your brother gets killed, yes, it is considered to be whoever in the family is closest in relation for them to go out and seek revenge upon this. And again, we've mentioned this up. This is that whole entire thing of, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Everybody winds up blind and toothless.
Right.
And this has been pagan philosophy for years.
Right. And
when you look at all our other civilizations, Babylon, Rome, and all this, everything's always, even the British Empire that has some pagan influence there, everybody believes that you're guilty until you're proven innocent.
Right, and look where that's got them.
And look where in the world that's got them.
Most of those empires don't exist anymore.
Well, and most of these people also get locked up for long periods of time. So, just like, our judicial system, I don't see how in the world you can have cash bails when technically the person's innocent. Now, I can understand that you want to make sure that these people come to their court dates and stuff like that, but we have the tracking thing.
Oh, yeah, and the house arrest bracelets and anklets and all that stuff.
Personally, I would rather see that happen to where in the world, low, unviolent crimes, you get a thing on there, around your wrist and go on. But I mean, I can also sit there and understand when they're sitting there in front of the judge going, well, here's the video tape of him killing the clerk in the store and blah, blah, blah. Do you really just want to put a bracelet on him and send him out? No, let's put him in jail until time for his trial.
Right.
And again, just like the people that you let go with the tracking bracelets, if they don't show up, you activate them, you go, you pick them up.
Right.
You also put the tamper thing in there. You bring them back and go, okay, you didn't show up, so we're going to put you in jail, and your case is first up tomorrow.
Right.
You're going if you like it or not, because we have to prove that you're not guilty. I don't think a lot of people understand that. In court, we prove that we're not guilty. We don't prove that we're innocent.
Right.
The assumption is that we are innocent, which is a different way of thinking of things.
It is. It is. It kind of changes the perspective that a lot of people just don't think about.
Well, I mean, because people don't think about changing that perspective on these things. You know, just like the whole entire revenge thing. Are you getting revenge because you've been slighted, or are you getting revenge because you're sort of embarrassed? Is this more about pride? Is this more about your pride than actually accomplishing something?
Right. Is it more of, I can't believe I let that happen? Or is it legitimately, I'm seeking justice?
Well, it's back to that saying, and you're going to find this funny, but fool me once, shame on you. Shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, and this is where I see a lot of people going around getting quote unquote revenge.
Uh-huh.
You're not getting revenge. You're just trying to make yourself not look as bad as what was mentioned about yourself.
Okay, that makes sense, yeah.
Did it? It came out.
I think it did, yeah.
Came out as words, but I'm not sure if it came out as a cohesive thought.
Well, then reword it.
Well, I mean, are you seeking revenge to regain your pride or your luster or your standing, or are you doing this to actually get justice? You see, there's a difference between revenge, justice, and fairness.
Yeah, right? A lot of people don't realize that, but yeah, there is.
All right. Revenge is going out to do something because you feel like somebody wronged you. Doesn't matter if it's true or not. Doesn't matter if it's real or not.
Right.
This is what revenge is.
Right. It's just flat out, you did this, I'm getting back at you.
Right. Then fairness, again, is a personal thing, because what you would consider fair and what I consider fair are two different things.
Right.
I mean, I know there's certain things we can somewhat agree there.
Right.
You know, and hence the reason we have laws. Because we agreed as a country to go, these are the laws we're going to live by. You don't like them, there's other countries.
Right.
You know, we're not being mean or anything, but yeah, if you want to live that way, go to those countries. You know, just like, you know, in the States, if you want to live in a state more liberal and stuff like that, move to that state. If you want to live somewhere that's a little bit more conservative, move to those states. If you want to live somewhere that's a little bit more middle of the road, like me, go there.
Right.
What's wrong with this? Why do we assume that all the cultures in the United States have to be exactly the same?
Well, they shouldn't. I mean, that's what makes the United States a melting pot.
But yes, but at the same time, we do need some traditions. We do need some things to meld us together as a country.
Well,
to
sure.
At least to have that idea of, it's my dog, I'll kick it.
Right.
You can't. I can't.
Right.
So, I mean, so you need to have enough common threads throughout the whole entire country to have that mentality. Like, yeah, we know these are our dumb little rednecks and stuff like that, and over here's our little gangsters and stuff, but they're our gangsters.
Right.
All right. At the end of the day, if, you know, some criminal organization vowed to take, if Nazis showed up, my hope would be that these thugs or these gangs would go, oh, no, it's our America. You know what I mean?
Right.
It would turn on the Nazis. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't, I don't know how else to go with this. You know, I mean, injustice is us trying to balance between revenge and fairness.
Yeah, but what happened? What helps with that is the fact that we do have laws.
Right.
The laws help us find that balance,
Well,
or
see,
they're supposed to help us find that balance.
well, see, and a lot of people want to sit there and go, okay, well, our laws are like this, or laws are not perfect.
Oh Lord, no, but not by far.
No, because we don't always know, but that should be a time where we sit there and go, okay, at a certain point, we need to reevaluate all our laws. Because there are dumb laws out on the thing that we just don't. You know what I mean?
Right, they are still out there.
They're still out there. There's that one about, you can't have a pie out on the shelf during church time or something because nobody was home and it would attract wild animals.
Right. You can't park your camel on the courthouse steps.
Right.
Who has a camel? Really?
Right. And again, these old dumb laws that we have, we need to go through and take them off the books. Some I could see leaving just because, well, it's quirky, the whole camel thing. I'm really not concerned about it, but, would it really hurt if people started using hippos instead of... Can we tame rhinos to ride them like horses, like they did in Black Panther?
Can we? Oh, that would be so cool.
I mean, at what extent can we do some of this stuff?
Right.
But you have to be very careful when it comes to revenge and getting people to understand there is a difference there. Justice would be the better way. That way the person gets some punishment. There should always be some punishment, no matter what.
All right. So what would your advice be as to how can you make sure that that's what you're doing? That what you're doing is the right thing, that it's not just you're doing it out of spite.
By listening to all sides without criticism. All right. I mean, it's like sitting there and putting a man who beats his wife in jail. Yes, I think he ought to go to jail because assault is bad.
Right.
All right. And that's exactly what in the world he done. Now, if she decides to take him back, we might not see this as very justified or whatever, but where's our place to actually say something?
I mean, it is her decision.
And then when she does get the crap beat out of her again, how much sympathy should we have for her? We've already expended resources and stuff to get her out of this situation again, and she walked right back into it.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, this could be any situation where you see people doing that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand that people have alcoholism and drug problems and stuff like that.
Right.
And they need help getting these over. And there is a chance of relapse. I've tried to quit smoking enough times. Trust me, I understand that. I know it's not quite like doing drugs or
right,
the hardcore drugs and, drinking like what they're doing. But if I'm only experiencing a small part of what it's like to resist that, I'd hate to think what these people have to go through.
Oh, absolutely.
It's tolerance of one's own soul, one's own mind. What in the world you're going to be able to live with yourself at the end of it? And I know a lot of times you see them in the movies and this stuff. Could you really do it? Your family was killed by a drunk driver and you want revenge.
Right.
And I hate to ask this, but is revenge really going out and ending this guy's life, or would revenge be better? No, I'd rather you sit in prison and be reminded every 15 minutes.
Well,
you killed these, my kid and my wife or whatever.
They do say revenge is a dish best served cold. So I think it goes back to that whole, well, it goes back to the judging judgments episode that we had, where you really need to examine all sides. You need to take some time away from the situation, maybe meditate on it, bring yourself to a calmer state of mind before you go out and make rash decisions. Right?
Right. I mean, because I'm sorry, therapists have told us forever, you get upset about something or something happens, count to 10 before reacting?
Right.
Well, and the reason for that is because your emotions react faster than your conscious mind can process.
God, ain't that the truth?
And sometimes your knee-jerk reaction is not always the best one.
Sometimes?
The majority of times it turns out to be a bad one, but, people are weird and they do weird things.
Yeah, and that applies to us as well, so, Let's talk about witch mills.
Oh, okay. What's a witch mill?
Witch mills are these places that are just cranking out witches left and right.
Left and right.
They just, you do a little bit of studies. Hey, we're going to initiate you. Guess what? You're a witch.
Well, you see, back in our day, when I was first studying,
yeah,
the witch mill concept was a thing that was going on, because most training is a year. Your first degree at least is somewhere around like a year,
yeah,
or so. And some temples seem to have been turning out new witches every 3 months,
right?
And people were like, you can't train and initiate people that fast. There's no way. And we referred to them as witch mills. I still think this is going on, but it's not going on like it used to.
All right, what makes you think it's still happening?
Any of these places where you can, here, want to start being a witch? Here, take classes here. And there's always a fee or something attached to it. It's a witch mill. It's low-level info. The majority of the time, it's info that you can find out on the internet now.
All right, so you think they're not really giving you any real, quote-unquote, real information?
Well,
it's
nothing.
just stuff that you can find
you could have
anywhere.
You could have looked it up yourself. You could have read those books instead. Don't get me wrong. I'm not discounting what some of these people are doing, because, yes, they are sourcing multiple information to make one class. But then on the other hand, so can you. So is this what you're paying for? Somebody else to source or do your research for you, so you just have a paper at the end? Or do you see what I'm asking? Because you got to remember that process, that doing that research and going out and retrieving that info and read, that's part of craft. I remember that as part of my first and second degree training over and over again, was to do that process.
Right.
But it's like we have these quote unquote schools and they're doing it for you instead.
So do you think that like the online schools, do you think they're just witch mills?
See, it's hard to say, because we don't have a standard of this versus that. I mean, I've seen classes, and I'll admit I'm doing one of those online spiritual classes things, right?
Right.
But yet I have yet to experience anything I didn't already know or haven't already been taught for free from like Lord Min and Lady Alicia, and that's the part I don't get. You're paying for stuff that I got for free.
Right.
That's my dilemma there.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say, because a lot of those places, we haven't gone through their material.
Well, no, we haven't.
So we don't really know what it is they're teaching.
And you can't, and how do you judge a place? But, I mean, I understand them not wanting to reveal all their material until you pay for it, but at what point do you know it's information. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, because like I have noticed we have looked at some of those places, and I know at least 2 or 3 that we've looked at, but they don't really tell you what's involved in the courses.
Yeah, it's
so you don't really even know what you're going to be learning.
And I think that was the only reason we did the one that I've been doing, because they had more of a synopsis of what in the world you would learn and
right
out of all of them.
Right.
And I haven't really seen anywhere we're matching the same level of information or standards in the religion to even come up with a comprehensive bachelor's degree or even an associate's degree.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For the priesthood like the Christians do. There are legitimate colleges and stuff like that where you can go to become a Christian pastor.
Well, we've talked about that
yeah.
before, and even you were, I kept throwing out ideas, and you were like, but who's going to facilitate that?
And again, there's my problem again. We haven't got this level of standard. I mean, as long as we have we have the problems between Wicca and the traditional communities, I don't think we're ever going to be able to actually set a standard. Until the traditional community, in which we keep on talking about, those traditionally trained and initiated, the whole 9 yards, stand up and go, no, we're traditionals, y'all are Wicca, and we're going to sit down. We're going to finally make some rules. We're going to say, hey, this is at least the bare minimum. So we have educated people, priests and priestesses out there knowing what they're doing. But there has to be a moment in the community at large where we galvanize together to go, okay, no, this is what we need. And not just some cockeyed bullshit that's the new wave.
All right, yeah, but I can see where that's going to be an issue.
All right, I mean, like right now, you got all these people that, I have never, for as long as we've done this, I've never known the Norths to be so popular, but now...
Yeah, Norse paganism is on the rise.
Right, and how long until all of a sudden it's Cherokee again or whatever, or the next fad to come along?
Right.
I mean, I hate to be this way. There are people out there, they are drifting, and I see them drifting. Oh, I wasn't Celtic, and now I am Celtic. Oh, now I'm not. Now I'm going to follow a North pantheon. While at the same time still falling under that title of Wicca and not being a part of a initiated tradition of Nordic traditions.
Right.
And that would fall into that category of what we refer to as that traditional witchcraft. Until we can, as a community, sit down and actually have these conversations, and I hate to be this way, without certain people of the community going, well, we ain't talking to you because Nan and a boo-boo, you won't believe what we believe.
Well, yeah, and it's hard enough to get, like, I know in some communities, in some areas, it's hard enough to get people to even come together for like a pagan fest or a pagan pride event or anything like that. Jay Woodwolf, he's talks about it all the time in his area. You can't get people to come together.
Well, you can't.
Nobody's happy about anything. They say, well, we don't have nothing's available for the community, but then you make something available for the community and then they're not happy about something else. Well, that's not inclusive, or it's not this, it's not that.
Well,
and so then they don't show up.
We're back to the whole entire problem of where in the hell are our temples? Where's our churches? Where's our damn cathedrals?
Do you think that? I don't think that would solve the problem.
But no, again, we can't even organize the majority of the times the community to just get up off their asses and to buy land in their temple's name like a normal church.
Right.
You can't even get that on the local level. And me believing that suddenly the traditional community is going to get their act together and sit down and actually have honest conversations about what we need to be a real stable religion instead of this cockeyed stuff that seems to be happening in our community.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Wiccans, y'all can believe whatever in the world you want. I'm having a problem where we have people crossing lines that they should not be crossing.
Right.
Calling themselves things and using that as a lift in their status without ever actually doing the stuff.
Right.
I'm sorry. I find it very disrespectful to all my first degrees, to all my second degrees, to any of them, for, these people just to come out and go, well, you know what? I'm this, I'm that. I think that is completely disrespectful for those of us who did the training.
Right. I agree.
All right. Until the Wiccan community goes, hey, no, we understand what you're saying. We'll believe what we believe and we'll stay in our lane. But that's not what happened. And then what we keep on hearing from these people, even in our own community, is you have to believe the way I believe. Instead of, okay, I understand you believe the way you do. This is the way I believe, and we'll leave it at that.
Right.
If you want to change your whole entire religion because you have a person that sits there and goes, well, I don't like black robes trigger me. If you want to change them all to a different color, that's your business. I'm going to tell you, as long as I'm the head of our temple, that shit ain't going to happen. You just going to have to get over yourself. Now, with that said, hey, if I got somebody that comes in that is blind or deaf, am I going to work with them? Yes. But I'm not going to sit there and try to rearrange the whole entire universe to suit one person. Weird fantasy.
Right.
It would be nice to have this stuff. It would be nice to get rid of the witch meals and have people out there that are experienced, wise people to give real information to the youth to ease up some of these problems, to help people find their way.
It would be nice, but the way things are now, I don't ever see it happening.
I don't either. That's really the part that bothers me. Can it be done? Could we come to a compromise? The traditional, I absolutely believe it. I believe it is possible.
Well, I mean,
in the right environment at the right time.
Right. If it was strictly left up to the traditional community, I think we could come up with something.
Right.
Something functional for everybody, regardless of your tradition.
Right. For ourselves, for the only thing of craft itself.
Right. I think something could come together. The problem is going to come when you involve all the solitaries, all the eclectic witches, all of those who are calling themselves Wicca now. All of these people, they have their own ideas, and that's great.
Right.
But it seems, and I could be wrong, please correct me if I am, but it seems that they, not only do they all have their own ideas, but they don't want to listen to anybody else.
Everybody's more concerned about their own agendas, their own, I hate to put it this way, there's a large percentage of people in our community, it's more about their egos.
Oh, yeah.
You hear it, the whole 9 yards. You go to listen to their channel and their message, and it sounds more like an infomercial.
Yeah.
I've had more than one student say the following. They sat down and have a student with them. They felt more like they were at one of those Tupperware parties than they were at
Right.
a religious event. I have a problem with this, and especially when it's starting to be multiple people, multiple students telling me the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I went there for this full moon, but it felt more like, a Tupperware party. Everybody was just trying to sell me stuff.
Right.
That's not what we're about.
No, it's not.
We're supposed to be about that spiritual connection, that celebration that we should want or crave or even be addicted to wanting to do ritual.
Right.
The process makes us better. That energy makes us better people, even if you're just there.
Well, and I think that's part of the problem is that a lot of people don't realize that.
No, you still
just like
have.
you said, they've all got their own agendas, and there's no common ground anymore.
Well, we saw them at the gathers and stuff. When we'd go to a gather, Lord Men sat there and goes, no, this is their only spiritual connection.
Oh,
is
yeah.
this gather.
Yeah.
The rest of the year, they don't do nothing else. They don't think about this until this gather, and they come here, and this is their only spiritual connection.
Right.
And you see these people, they're not used to this, and they're look like, like they're stoned out of their minds in the middle of a circle all of a sudden.
And I still see it happening today. I mean, we've been to a few gatherings over the past few years, and I'm amazed at how often you still see the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like these people have no other contact. And I'm like, how do you not have contact?
Well, or you go to these things and it's either all you have are shops and classes. You never have that coffee shop area, somebody sitting there trying just to keep a weird conversation, a conversation going. Right. Well, not necessarily a weird conversation, but
some of them are. But
some of them are. But just that place where everybody's chatting, being friendly, learning each other.
Right, getting to know other people.
Getting to know other people. That's what these gatherings are supposed to be about.
Right, not just going to a class and seeing the looks on other people's faces and realizing, oh, I'm not alone in this. But it's actually getting to sit down and talk to people.
To actually have a conversation, a connection with someone.
Right, start interacting with people from the community.
Again, I don't like the Skyping.
Oh yeah, Skype, Zoom.
Skype. I understand the need for it, and we've used it like with Lady Koromoon.
Right.
And I don't mind using it under those circumstances. And I completely understand it, but to do it on a regular basis and never have that one-on-one contact, I don't see how some of these people do it.
It does lack.
I mean,
I video chat with people on Discord. I mean, while it is good to see that other person and you can see their facial expressions, their hand gestures, you don't see the whole picture. And, is this that we're attuned or subconsciously because it's a picture on a screen that we don't think of it as a real person? I think some people might.
Because of all our years of watching TV, of watching these people, that when we sit down and we do this on Skype, our mind actually subconsciously shifts into this mode. That you're watching TV. This ain't a real person. This is a character.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that's what in the world our problem is with this doing it, and why some of the younger kids don't have this problem because they never had that programming.
Yeah, but that might be a problem you have with it, but I don't think it's anything. I see where you're coming from. I just think it
was an interesting,
It is an interesting thought. I don't think it's an issue that I have. The issue that I have is it's not like you and I sitting here having a conversation.
No.
Not only can I feed off of your gestures and your facial cues and things like that, but I'm also feeding off of your energy. I can feel you in this room. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a difference when you're one-on-one with somebody.
Right. Versus
a video chat.
Video chat. It lacks that connection.
I mean, it's great that we have that because it really does make phone conversations completely different.
Right.
But it's still not the same.
For some reason, I really like the shows where they're doing it in real life, where they're there.
Yeah.
All right, because again, you always have that one problem. Is there a lag?
Yeah. And sometimes there is.
Anything else you want to know? I even forgot what the conversation was.
Witchmills.
Oh crap!
Yeah, we got off topic.
But again, I don't think this is a relevant thing now like it used to be.
It still happens.
It's
but
it's still happening, but now it's more of a standard problem than it is a time length problem.
Right.
Because a lot of these places are doing more of that independent study.
Right.
My only question is are you actually paying for real info or a real course, or are you paying for somebody else just to do your research for you?
Right.
And those are the ones I would watch out for, because you got to know how to do that research.
Right. No, yeah, I totally get that. I mean, I really do think that there are some legitimate courses out there. But I'm like you. I think you really have to be careful.
Right.
And I think if you go into something and you initially think, oh well, I'm gonna learn a lot of stuff, and then you start realizing you're not really learning anything, you need to get out of it.
Right. When it becomes that easy, there is a point to where there's got to be a little bit of a challenge there.
Right. And if you don't have an instructor that you can at least talk to, for me, that's a no-go.
Well, I mean,
I need to have somebody that I can at least check in with, and I'm not talking via email. I won't
sit down and ask a question.
Right. I want to be able to actually talk to this person, whether it be by phone or by video chat or something. I want some type of connection.
Right, because I remember being in class and having some electronics questions, and I would not think of how in the world I would have been able to suggest what I was suggesting to the teacher on some of these questions without being there and being able to demonstrate or point or to to use the environment to kind of explain so he was on the same page as me.
Right.
And it took him a couple of days, because it was actually a couple of days later he actually walked up and he's like, "Oh crap, I finally get it. I know what you're trying to say."
Right. So yeah, I think that's an important part of, if you're going to do an online course, whether we're talking pagan classes or college courses or anything. If you're doing something online, you need to have, in my opinion, you need to have some type of connection. You need to have a way to be able to actually talk to your instructor.
To physically be in the same room.
That would be optimal.
Would be optimal. I mean, where you actually have it,
But I'm just saying, if it's
because it'd be nice if these online classes actually said you had to at least spend like an hour with your teacher.
Okay, but even then, it's got to be local.
Right. But that's my point.
But then you're running into all these other issues. But I'm just saying, if you're like a University of Arizona, I can take classes from them.
Well, yeah. I mean, I hate to be this way,
But I would also have access to an instructor that I could speak with.
I still don't understand why in the world college is so expensive with as easy and accessible it is now, to where technically, because the limit going to a class was the size of the class.
Yes.
In virtual classes,
you don't have that issue.
You don't have that issue.
Well, I mean,
to a certain extent.
I guess in some ways you still do, but I don't know. It's just, my point is that if you're going to do an online class, I think you need to have access to an instructor.
Right. You need that one-on-one time.
Right.
I guess I'm out of coffee.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another episode. Pagan Coffee Talk is brought to you by Life Temple and Seminary. Please visit us at lifetempleseminary.org for more information, as well as links to our social media: Facebook, Discord, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit.
We travel down this trodden path, a maze of stone and mire. Just hold my hand as we pass by a sea of blazing pyres. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning